I'm Cody's story, and this video is all about how to build a step and repeat banner frame for the backdrop of your podcast, because the frames when you're ordering a step and repeat banner online are really expensive. They're like $450, $550, or all the way up to like $650 for a frame. I'm bootstrapping. I don't have a lot of resources and a lot of money to get this podcast off the ground. So I just was like, you know what? I should just come up with an idea to make a frame, go to Home Depot, buy the supplies, come home and build it. And before we get into the tools and the supplies, I'd like to also say I have 2 other videos on the process that I went through ordering the step and repeat banner. Now let's get into the tools and the supplies that you will need to build the frame. To start with, you're going to need 4 PVC pipes. Now the dimensions of my banner are 8 feet by 8 feet, so I got 4 10-foot pieces of pipe, and they are 1 1/4 inch thick. Then you're going to need 4 corner pieces, and they need to match the dimensions of the pipe. So if it's 1 1/4 inch thick, you're going to need the corner pieces to be 1 1/4 inch as well. As far as cutting these to length to match the 8 foot by 8 foot dimensions, you're going to have to do a little bit of math, which brings me to you're going to need a tape measure. Now, if you were to put the pipe inside of the corner piece, it's going to be 1 1/4 inches. So you're going to need to subtract 2 1/2 inches, because there's going to be a corner piece on the top and the bottom of each one of these sides. So if I have to create an 8 foot by 8 foot banner, I'm going to need to subtract that 2 1/2 inches from the 8 feet, which would bring me to 7 feet 9 1/2 inches. So when you're cutting the pipes, you're going to have to consider that with these corner pieces. Now, I got these T connectors. You're not going to need these, but I bought them because in theory I was thinking I might plug them into the middle of the PVC pipes, so that way I could take the frame down easily or put it together easily if I needed to transport the banner in the future. So I'm not going to include that in the banner, but that is a theory that I'll come back to later on once I've used this step and repeat backdrop for a while. Then you're also going to need some nylon zip ties to connect the banner to the PVC pipes. These are, or this is, a 20 pack, and they are 11 inches in length. I went a little bit longer than I probably needed to because I want to make sure that everything works out, and I don't like making multiple trips to the hardware store, if you know what I mean. As far as tools, I already told you about tape measure. You're going to need a tape measure. You're also going to need to have a saw. Doesn't have to be this saw in particular. But I just had it from when I owned a gym, and I used to have to actually cut PVC pipes for some of the mobility drills that we did. So I was lucky to have that laying around. Tape. You're going to need tape to cut the PVC pipe straight if you'd like to. I used to have a thing that came with the saw that actually allowed me to cut it straight. Don't have it. So I'm going to try to use the tape for that. And I had to do some math. I needed a pen. If you don't know the dimensions that you're going to need, you might need a pen to figure out the math. And then also a nice handy dandy dry erase marker to mark the PVC pipes. All right, so step 1, we're going to measure out one of the pipes. And it needs to be 7 feet and 9 1/2 inches. So there we are. Pop that top off. 7 feet 9. And 7 feet plus a 1/2 inch. All right, so before we start cutting these PVC pipes, I want to show you the side project I've been working on for my girlfriend. Come on over here. So the birds have been eating our beautiful wild blueberries. And how do I know this? Well, because there would be a hell of a lot more ripe blueberries for us to eat already, and I also keep catching them when I'm doing my morning reading, attacking the blueberries and taking off, and it's like, yo, we bought these things to eat them, you know what I mean? So what I did is I decided to build what I'm going to call blueberry cage instead of a bird cage to keep the birds out. So I still got to cut a little bit of this mesh material that we put on here, but I think it came out pretty beautiful. And on top of that, I made it a hell of a lot bigger than it needed to be. And we have some more room to put some other things inside. So that's just a little side project I worked on. Helps me stay sane when I do a lot of computer work and stuff like that, creating content like this. All right, so let's get back to the job. All right, so step number 2. I'm actually going to use this tape and wrap it around where I marked the pipe, and this should help me to stay straight when I'm cutting. So I want to make sure that I put it on here as straight as possible. Up. Okay, so that should be good enough.
Is that only for PVC pipe saw?
No, you could use it on different wood, different types of wood. But the reason it's great for the PVC pipe is because the teeth on the saw are pretty small. The teeth that I have on that other saw that I just bought are way bigger, so it'd be very hard to cut through this thing fast like this.
Why is there big saws and teeth?
So it can rip through firm wood. Firm wood. Don't get too excited. Watch your toes. All right, let's double check my work. 7 feet, 9.5 inches on the money. 1 down, 3 to go. All right, so we got all 4 pieces cut. Now, let's go connect them. So they all should be pretty damn close. And yeah, looks close enough to me. Step number 3, we're gonna put these corner pieces on and connect the outside of the frame. One. I want to make sure they're level, so if I lay it on the ground like this, I can actually rotate it to where it feels like it's flush. Right there. Now, it'd be better if I had a hammer, but I don't.
Go get
So let's see if that worked or not.
We have a rubber mallet.
Okay. All right, now we're going to connect the other half. So the first one doesn't really matter. It's the second one. Well, that's what you do if you don't have a hammer on you and you don't want to run to the garage.
Wait, why can't you do it on the concrete?
I just don't want to bang them up, and I don't want to make it to where maybe I possibly break it. So you can just place it on there lightly, don't press too firm, and then you can rotate it to where you feel like that one ends up flush, because this one's already flush. So I gotta match that other one. Boom, so that's flush. Now I can hit it on right there. Bingo. Double check. If it was rocking, you would know it's not flush, but it lands perfect. All right, so now we got the two sides done with the corner pieces. All right, so I'm gonna bring one side over here, boom. Flip this side over here, boom. One corner. Two corners. Three corners. And number 4. All right, ain't that pretty? Looks good. So I got to make sure that this one is in all the way. So how am I gonna do that? I think I actually do have to get a hammer. All right, let's go get a hammer then. All right, so we had to actually undo the pipes yesterday, and we just brought them into the podcast studio, which is where we're at right now, and the baby blue wall won't work for me, and that's why I got this step and repeat banner. So now that we're in here, we can actually start to attach the corners like we were yesterday, but because the doorways weren't big enough, we had to do that in here. So the next step is to attach the pipes. It's super simple. I'm just gonna do it lightly for now. I'm gonna come on down here to this corner and attach this side next. Okay, so that one's probably, yeah, that one's all the way in there, so I want to make sure that one is, but I'll have to use a hammer. Actually, you know what? I might be able just to pull straight down. There we go. That is it. All right, so the next step, now that we have the step and repeat frame done, is I have to grab the vinyl zip ties and unroll the banner and start attaching those zip ties and the banner to the frame. All right, so now that we have the banner out of the box, my girlfriend and I are gonna attach the first couple zip ties. All right, so we finally attached all of the zip ties to the banner. I love the way it came out. The only thing I might change is the corners are a little challenging to work with the plastic zip ties. So what I might do is actually tie some twine around the grommet. That way I can actually pull the corners a little bit more snug, which will take some of the slack out of the banner. And the finishing touches I'm gonna put on, because we have hardwood floors and then we also have a wall with paint behind the banner, I'm gonna put some of these furniture like sliders type sticky things on each of the 4 corners. That way we won't be scratching the floor or the wall. Alrighty, so as you can see, my podcast is called the Vision Hunters Podcast. It's gonna be launching in a couple of months. But maybe you got to this video at a later date and I've already launched it. I hope you enjoy the podcast just as much as you enjoyed this video. I'm not selling you anything on this channel right now, but I would love if you would go ahead and click subscribe, because that's how you can support me in making more videos like this. And on top of that, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. Adios.